Welcome to the Learn to Sew Academy channel. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you.
Welcome to a new tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about making peplum, flares, ruffles, but we're also going to be explaining what a 720 or a 1080 or a 1440 peplum or flare means. We're going to look at the logic behind it. What do you mean by a 720 or a 1080 or a 1440 degree peplum? So we're just going to start by understanding that when we make a peplum, we are making circles. We all know that. And a circle is 360 degrees. So whether we are cutting a flare or we're cutting a ruffle, as long as it's a full circle, we are dealing with 360 degrees. So what a 720 degree peplum or flare is simply a multiple of a circle. So in other words, no matter how many degrees you have decided to make, either it's 1080 or 1440, these are just multiplying your circles, doing multiples of circles. So I have these 4 circles here just to help me to explain this. Now, when we are making a regular flare or a regular peplum, we're going to go with a 360 degree. That's what we've been making all this while when we just make a regular flare. Now, if you want to make a 720 degree peplum, what you're simply doing is you're simply doing 2 circles. 360 plus 360 is going to give you the 720. Okay? Now, you may want to take it a step further and you say, you know what, I want the 1080. What that is simply doing is saying 360 plus 360 plus another circle. So you're making 1, 2, 3 circle to get that. The 4th category I want to explain is when you're making your 1440, you're just making 4 different circles. Because when you add your 360 plus 360 plus 360 plus 360, you're going to get your 1440 degrees. So that is what I want you to just have in mind. That is what you're doing. Now, to further explain what I was talking about, when we're doing the regular peplum, this is what we do right here. We know it's a 360 degree. That's what we're going to do. So you're going to take your waist measurement, whatever that is, and you're going to divide that by 6.28. That is what you're doing when you're doing a regular peplum. And of course, we already factor in your allowance, which is your zipper allowance, because you're doing just one full circle. You just factor in your zipper allowance, you add it to the waist, and you divide by 6.28, and you'll be good. Now, for your 720 degree peplum or flare, what you're doing, like we explained, is 2 circles, which is 360 plus 360 gives you the 720. And what you're going to do there is you're going to take your waist, you're going to factor in your allowance, and then you're going to divide that by 2. You're doing a 2 because you're doing 2 circles. So you're dividing that waist plus your allowance by 2. And before you now divide by 6.28. Why are you dividing by 2? Because you're doing 2 circles again. So these 2 circles are sharing your waist measurement. If you have a waist measurement of 40, for instance, just as an example, you know that one circle should be 20, the other circle should be 20. So that is why you're going to be dividing that waist by 2 so that you have enough shared between the 2. And that is after you have factored in your sewing allowances and your zip allowance. Now for the 720, you know that when you make your circle, we're going to open it in the middle, and you're going to need to cut it somewhere in the center because you need to join the 2 circles together. Now, to determine your allowance that you need, You know that when you cut this, you're going to need to join one part of here to one part of here. So you want to factor in your sewing allowances. You know you're going to need half an inch here to join to half an inch here. And then the other part of this, you're also going to factor in your zipper. This part and the other part will now be where your zipper will be going into. And right there, you factor in your zipper allowance. So if you're going to do a 1 or a 2, you factor that in when you're measuring your total waist. So on one side, we'll have the sewing allowance or the seam allowance that you're going to join both together. And then the other part will be where your zipper will go. For your seam allowance, you can use more than half. And actually, it's better you do more than you have too little. But you can use half, or you can use 0.75 or 1 inch. For your zipper, you can do between 1 to 2 inches. The next category, the 1080 degree, is just the same concept. So once you get the concept, you can just go ahead and have fun with this. Depending on how full you want your peplum, your flare, your whatever it is, you can just go ahead and have fun with this. So the 1080 degrees is just telling you 3 circles. And if you're not too sure, if someone says, oh, make me a 1080 degree peplum, and you're not too sure, you know that each circle is 360. Just take the 1080, divide by 360, and you will see that you need 3 circles. So that's what I have here, circle 1, 2, and 3. So what we're going to do for you to calculate your radius for each of the 3 circles is you're going to take the waist, you're going to add all your allowances. After you have done that, whatever you get, divide by 3. We're doing 3 because we're cutting 3 circles, and we need to allocate equally between these 3 circles. So that is why allocate the waist measurement with the allowance between the 3 circles. That's why you're going to divide by 3 first. Before you now take whatever your answer is, you divide that by 6.28 to get your radius for each circle. And that is just what we do when we do the 1440 as well. In this case, we're doing 4 circles. Again, if you divide 1440 by 360, which is the degree for each circle, you'll see that you need 4 circles. Or if you just say 360 plus 360 plus 360 plus 360, you're going to have circle 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 circles. And what are we going to do? Exactly the same thing. So you're going to say your waist measurement plus all the seam allowance and the zipper allowance, everything, all of that total. You're going to now divide that by the number 4, representing the 4 circle, because you need to, again, allocate this total waist equally between all the 4 circles. And when you do that, whatever your answer is, whatever you get over here, that is what you will now do the 6.28, because whatever you get over here is going to be for 1 circle. So each individual circle is this result right here. That's the new circumference or the new waist for each individual circle. So to get the radius for that new waist that you calculated, you're going to now divide that by 6.28. So whatever you get here is what you're now going to use to cut. So when you cut your circle, you will now cut like we've determined 4 circles, or 3, or 2, or just 1, depending on what you're doing. I hope you understand this segment, this section that I've just shown you right now. So what I'm going to do next now is I'm going to illustrate. I know it looks like a lot of math, but don't be intimidated. That's why I've put the circles just to help you to break it down. Don't get intimidated at all. It's just number of circles, which you probably are doing already in your peplum. So I'm going to now illustrate with some of my wrapping papers so you can see what I'm talking about. So how do you determine how much allowance you need when you start to cut your peplon or your flare? So I'm going to use this paper. I just did a rough circle here. So if you are making a 360, a regular peplon, this is what you have, a full circle. And you're going to be opening it on one side. So when you're calculating for the waist circumference, you want to take the measurement of your waist, and then you will add whatever allowance you have decided to use for your zipper, because your zipper will go right here. So we're using 1 inch on each side, 1 inch here, 1 inch here for the zipper allowance. So whatever your waist is, if your waist was 20 inches, you're going to add the 1 inch plus 1 inch. That will give you 22 inches for the total waist. And that is what you will be using to calculate your radius. That's what you will divide by 6.28. Now, if you are going to do a 720, that brings you to 2 circles. So what we're going to do now is to calculate how much allowance you're going to be needing. Remember that you're going to need to join one side of the circle and you leave the other side open for your zip allowance. So the side that you're joining, you can use half an inch for that. So half an inch on this side, half an inch on the other side. If you like, you can put additional 1 inch on both sides, or 0.75. It's actually better if you have too much than to have too little. But typically, I would use half an inch. That's sufficient for me. So let's assume we're doing half an inch. So half on this side, half on this side. That is 1 extra inch. Therefore, our zipper allowance, we know we're going to have 1 here, 1 here. That's 2 inches. So 2 plus 1, that's 3 additional inches that I'm going to be adding. So again, if I was using a waist of 20 inches, I'm going to just add 3 additional inches if I were doing a 720 degree peplon. Before cutting the radius, you first divide this by 2, and then the total will be divided by 6.28. Now, if you were doing the 1080 degrees, to calculate what allowance we need, you're dealing with 3 circles now. So you join circle 1 to circle 2 at one end, that's 1 inch, circle 2 to circle 3 at the other end, that's 2 inches, and then the last opening will be for your zipper allowance, which is going to be your 2 inches. And to calculate the total radius that you're going to need for each circle, you're going to take those sewing allowances plus that zipper allowance, and then you're going to add that to your waist measurement. Whatever total you get, you will divide that by your number of circles, which is 3 circles in this case. So what you get there is what you will now divide by your 6.28. Now, let's add one more circle to give us the 1440 degree peplon. Again, you open one side of it, and you know that you're going to add it. Now again, what we're just doing is we're trying to reason how much allowance do I need to add before I cut my peplon. That is what this is. I'm just using this to explain how much allowance do I need to factor in before I cut my peplon. What will my radius be for each individual circle? So again, you know that you're going to add this side to this circle. Now we have 4 circles here. Half an inch on both sides. That gives you 1 full inch. The other one, another 1 full inch, making 2. A third 1 full inch, making 3. Then where your zipper goes, you're going to do 2 inches. That gives you a total of 5 additional inches that you will add to your waist. Using an example of 27 inches for your waist, your radius for each circle will now be 27 inches plus all of your sewing allowances, which we found out to be 3 inches in total, plus your zip allowance, which is 2 inches, Altogether, that gives you 32 inches. That is 27 plus 3 plus 2 gives you 32 inches. You now divide that by the number of circles you have. You have 4 circles here. So it will be 32 inches divided by 4. So whatever result you get there, you will now divide that by 6.28. That will give you the radius you're going to use to cut each circle. Join me in the next video where I'll demonstrate how to cut each of these peplums. Please remember to leave this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to click that subscribe button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.